Good morning. We're going to try this again. Like, seriously. If y'all know me, y'all know that I'm not a real technical person. Happy Wednesday. It is April 24th. Wow, this month is going by so quickly. Hey, thank you for tuning into the AskZena radio show. I am so glad that you are here with me this morning. We've got some stuff to share. So, life always speaks to me. So I want to share some of the things that were going on and just tell you some mishaps. And we're just going to have a real conversation today. So thank you for tuning into the Good News radio station, right? Check out the Good News Sports and check out all of the other shows that we have. You can listen to the podcast anytime. You could be at work with your earbud in your ear and no one know that you are being motivated, inspired, encouraged, and uplifted, right? Thank you for tuning into the AskZena radio show. Wow, it's Wednesday. And you know what? 7 weeks. Hey, and Zena is back, right? I am feeling 100% better. I am back to normal. Health is good, feeling great. I've got some summer plans coming up and some other things going on. So I was going to have a guest today, another mishap, right? She thought that it was on a different time zone in DC, but no, we are in Cali. So we're on Pacific Standard Time. So that was a little bit of a mishap, and she had a client. So no problem, I'll get her out here another day. Excuse me, an empowering woman that she is. I'll give you more details, but so today, I was thinking about this for a little while now, like, how is life speaking to me? Life is speaking to us every single day, and so we're just going to have a conversation. And do you mind if I take off some of my layers and be a little transparent with you? So I always like to teach what I know, what I've gone through, and what I'm learning, because I believe that none of us are an island in our own space and place. I think that we are all learning, and even though our lessons are not similar in terms of color, scope, and scheme, they are very similar lessons. So if you peel back some of the layers, you'll realize that you are going through something that someone else is going through. And so I just thought about, people who have mental illness, they isolate and they think that they are the only ones in the world going through what they're going through. But if they would take the moment, take some time not to isolate and to have conversations with people, get over the shame, they would realize that they're not in this world by themselves and they're not going through something on their own. So I wanted to have some straight talk with you guys and share some of the things that I've been going through and how the universe and the world is speaking to me directly. And maybe this will resonate with you, right? So, I talked a lot about my illness, and I am an extremely reflective person. I sit in my thoughts a lot. Probably way too much, but I do believe in surrender and I do believe in release. So I do a lot of that as well, because I don't want to hold anything. I don't want to have any contamination within my person, within my spirit. So I do a lot of release. Sometimes maybe not when I should, or sometimes, I might release too quickly. And what that basically means for me is, like, I may turn the page too quickly. I may end something really, really quickly. I may disregard a person, place, or thing and just like, I'm moving on. I do that because I just don't want to be in any sort of mess. And so one of the things that life has been speaking to me is about really looking at myself, self-love, self-care, self-preservation, right? And I think that we do so much to give to so many people. Whether you're a giver or not, you're just out in this world, you're driving and you're giving the right away to people. You're in a family, or you're, a father or a mother, and you're giving to your children, you're giving to your employer, you're giving, 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 giving. But where do you take the time, or what do you have that is adding to your personal and spiritual bank account? Like, when are you getting deposits, right? So think about it, in terms of literal. Like, if you were constantly using your ATM and not making any deposits, it would be negative really, really quickly. Well, I think that that's what we do to our spirit. I think that we just continue to give, do, work on projects, think about inspiring ideas, think about collaborating, maybe not, maybe even numbness, like numbing your thoughts out, numbing your desires, numbing your will for life. I mean, that's depleting as well. So I was thinking about my personal spiritual bank account. And to be honest, I'm in a situation right now that I know is probably not the best situation for me. And I just cannot seem to shake it. Like, I have an intention, I have a goal, I have what I think this vision should look like. But every time I try to walk away from this scenario, I get sucked back in. And so I started to go through this feeling, because there's stages that we go through. We go through anger, we go through shame, we go through resentment, we go through, questioning ourselves, we go through fear, worry, and doubt, right? We go through all of that, and that could be in the calamity of a day. Like, I could go through I could ride that roller coaster several times in a day. And like, you would never know, because I'm a very, very productive person. You would never know that I am playing this game on the teacups in my mind, spinning around over and over. Can you relate? Can you really relate to that? Can you relate to being on the teacups ride? Now, that ride makes 99.9% of the people vomit, because you're just going around and around and faster and around and around. And it's like a kiddie ride, but can you relate? Like, where in your life are you going around and around and spinning? And like, can you stop this ride? Can you stop this ride? And everyone else is like, let's keep going. Let's keep going, right? So that's what's kind of going on with me. So I'm in this scenario, this situation, and I have been trying to run from it. I'll be very transparent. I've been trying to run from it for, I want to say, a little over a year. And in my running, I have learned some things about myself. First of all, I didn't realize I was a runner. Like, I've never run a marathon physically or anything like that, but I am a runner emotionally, mentally, within my person. So, So I had to first come to the awareness that I was running, and what running looked like was sabotaging a situation. Not really intentionally, but pushing things away, pushing the energy away, pushing the people away, pushing the opportunity away. Because I believe that every person, every situation, and every moment of the day is an opportunity for us to have a reflective moment and learn, right? Because I really believe at the core of who I am that the universe is always speaking to us. And it's not so much about the questions that we ask, it's about listening. And being attentive. And in my mind, for you people who are really Bible-based and so forth, I believe that awareness is the mustard seed that they talk about in the Bible, right? So, because we only need that small thing. We only need that tiny bit. God only asks us to have that tiny bit, which is that mustard seed of faith. And that's the awareness. Like, have you ever held a mustard seed? Do you know how tiny that is? Wow. Yeah. And that's all we need, right? And so if you're not a faith-based person, you can say, well, awareness, if I have this awareness walking in these human experiences, then I will learn something, or I won't learn something, or I'll ignore. And so going back to this situation in my life, I found every reason to blame everyone else. Blame this particular person. I identified flaws within them that they probably didn't even realize. And I wasn't very kind about it, to be honest. So, and I kept seeing that this person was impacting my situation and my happiness. And it really wasn't ever about this person. This person was merely a vehicle, as a mirror, to show me the reflection of my life and what is inside of me, my own personal beliefs and my own personal I don't want to say faults, I'll say flaws, right? And my own areas that are vulnerable and that need further exploration. Okay, let me break it down to you. So, being in a relationship with someone and seeing that they're not bringing me the happiness that I desire, but I'm still in that relationship. How many of you can relate? Like, you're in a relationship and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go through this again. But then you're still in the relationship. So what is that saying about you? What is that saying about what it is that you might need to learn? So we as women, men too, right? If you're in a relationship with someone that is like, oh my gosh, we're going through this again, you find fault, right? And in finding fault, you find blame. And in finding blame, when you express that, you're delivering shame. Your words are coming from a place of blame, blaming that other person as to why they are depleting your happiness or not adding value or not adding to your happiness or why there's all chaos and drama, right? But when you do that in a way that you point your fingers at someone, you're not making me, I don't feel this way, then you are adding shame to them. And as a result of that shame, you're building up resentments. You are building up resentments and they are building up resentments because they could be like, no, it's you. You're living the double standard. You're telling me I'm doing this, but you're doing the same thing. And so when you have that dance where, it's just you're challenging each other with your words and with your emotions, and you're constantly going at each other, saying the same thing, getting the same results, never looking at the situation. So about the last year, I really decided to say, I want to look at myself. Like, I want to be the change that I want and require in this relationship. And I've been working hard, but sometimes, the human side of me comes out and I just want to go in, and it's not nice. It's not nice at all. And you have moments where you just want to go in because you want your point to be heard. And what I've recently learned is that also is a form of manipulation, because it's like, I want to be heard. I don't care what you're thinking. That's your feelings. You thinking it's this, and I'm telling you it's this. And that is not a collective energy where two people are cohesively moving in an environment and in a way that would bring them the joy, would bring them, all of the abundance and richness of a meaningful, well-balanced, engaging relationship, right? So, I went back to Real Colors, right? So you guys have heard me talk about Real Colors. Look them up, realcolors.org. And I realized that I was speaking differently, and I was speaking in a manner in which this person didn't hear. Now, women, you probably are going to be like, oh, hell no, when I tell you the position that I took. Because you're going to be like, I have to tell him what was going on with him. What I did is, instead of saying you, I actually apologized for allowing the behavior to continue. I apologize for allowing, whether it was his behavior or my behavior, for allowing the chaos to keep seeping in to this relationship. Because here we always have a choice, right? You can either go left or you can go right. But when you stay, you have to take ownership of what's in front of you when you stay. You can't keep staying in a situation and then going left and right and blaming this. And, if you hold your hand out and you just flap it back and forth, you're not moving in any direction. You're just flapping back and forth. And most men will say, well, that's nagging and that's this and that's this. I get it. And we can be that type of people. But men, y'all know y'all live in a double standard. Come on now. You guys see things one way. You're hunters and you see it a certain way. And rarely, in the rare case, some men are willing to step outside of themselves and say, what is really going on? And when I mean step outside of yourself, I don't mean have a conversation at someone. I mean sit down and have a conversation with someone. Like, what is it that I can do better? If I had a room full of men, and I said, how many of you have ever asked your partner, what is it that I can do better? I bet none of them will raise their hand, right? But I think that we need to do that as people. We need to say, what is it that I can do better? And have that conversation. And even if the other person comes in the attack mode, because you have to understand that they may not understand this new posture. They may understand you going in all the time, and they may like, well, what do you mean do better? Yeah, you could do this. Take it, listen, and digest. So, yeah. Hey, thank you for tuning into the AskZena radio show. I'm just having a real straight talk conversation about what life has been speaking to me, and the fact that a year and 3 months, I'm finally listening, right? So I realize that I was the common denominator in arguments and pettiness and the ups and downs and the accusations. I was a common denominator. I mean, I had to walk away and realize I didn't care how this person was perceiving the situation. I was the common denominator. And whether this person was good or bad, the right person or not, was being honest or not, was being loyal or not, was being deceptive or not, I was the common denominator because I was in it, right? I was in it. I didn't choose left. I didn't choose right. And in temporary moments of anger and anguish, I'm like, I'm out. But yet, where was I? I was just flapping my hand because I was staying and I was stuck. And I don't want to say stuck, but I was in it. And all I was doing was using my words and accusations to flap back and forth. And so I really started to look at, what is it that I really, really want? What is it that I really, really want out of life? Not to say this relationship, but what is it that I really, really want out of life, right? I really want to be perfect, whole, and complete as much as I can while learning and growing, while appreciating all of life's experiences and tapping into this inner space of joy within me on a regular basis. Not happiness. We'll have to do that podcast another time. Happiness and joy are completely different, and I can go all off on a tangent on that. But tapping into this place of joy and being really, really authentic with myself, and I want to live an abundant life. Like, I want to be able to have the flow to be able to do whatever I want. You didn't hear me say money. See, because I think that money is an energy, right? But anyway, if you're bound to only having money, then you're only attached to a paper. I said I wanted to be in flow. And flow could mean I am gifted, I am being awarded, I am being given, I am being contracted to have and do and live the life that I want to live. Because there are so many other resources. And so when I say I'm in the flow, that I'm available to all of those resources to give to me, to help me co-create the life that I desire. Anyway, that's another thing. So when I stood up in this relationship, and even though I wanted to release it, I stood up in this relationship and I said, this is who I am. I may not understand how to do this, but this is what I desire. And I gave this person an opportunity to literally, like, if she's not the one and she can't, accept me or whatever, I don't even know what they were thinking, but I literally stood up in I was very, very clear as to what I required, right? Very, very clear as to what I desired, and very, very clear as to where I'm going in life. And I gave this person like about 2 weeks. I think I went to Alaska in December. I was gone for 2 weeks. So yeah, I gave them 2 weeks, and I said, when I come back, if you're not, on board with that, I'm cool. Like, it's all good, whatever, right? Doesn't mean that it distracts or detracts from anything that, my feelings. It just means that, you know what, I'm standing up in Zena. And so when I got back, things, started to move, right? But here's the thing that I want to tell you. When you stand up in your truth, some people will say the enemy, the devil, Satan, whatever. When you stand up in your truth, so I can only talk for Zena. When I stand up in my truth, my ego that tells me, well, blame it on that person. Well, it's that person's fault that you're not happy. It's that person's fault that you missed this event. It's that person's fault. My ego, that side of me that's been human, that's been walking on this planet, that really feels that like, it's not me, it's you. Right? That ego, we all have that ego. So that's what I call that shadow side of myself. So that shadow side of myself says, he gonna mess up again. He's gonna disappoint you again. And these are not big disappointments. I'm not talking about something major where you're like, oh my gosh, I would never talk to this person. Because I don't think that I could really ever say that I would never talk to someone. Even if Donald Trump were sitting right here, I don't think that I would ever say I would never talk to someone. Donald Trump, Mr. Orange, there's something about him that's very intriguing that I want to know. But I want to talk to you about that at the end, because when I share the awareness that came to me about Donald Trump, that was really, really powerful. Anyway, as if, we really want to be talking about him. But when I stood up in my truth, my ego said, all right, let's play. You think you want this abundant life? You think you want this? No, you want this person more. And so I'm going to show you how much more you're going to want this person and how much more you need to submit to this relationship. And so situation after situation after situation happened, right? So now January's passed and February's passed and March has passed. And now we're in April, and situation after situation continues to happen. And in my illness, in that month that I was sick In the 14 days that I laid in my bed, I was like, what is going on? Life, what lesson do I need to learn here? Life, what lesson do I need to learn here? Universe, show me what I need to learn so I can say yes to this lesson and get to my blessing. That's me having the conversation. I have conversations in my car. So if you ever see me, you'll be like, is she singing or is she talking to herself? Talking to the universe. So what I realized is I had to look at what this person was showing me, because even in the negative, even in the disappointment, it was showing me something, because obviously I was still there. I was still in class. I failed the class time and time again, had the same teacher. I failed the class, didn't go to the counselor's office, didn't go to the principal to say, I don't like this teacher. This teacher is abusing me, because that wasn't the case. I still stayed in that class. I failed the class, but I still stayed in the class. So something was grounding me there, and I had to figure out what that was. And so I started to take real accountability as to what it is and what was going on. And I started to peel back the layers of what value is there and what lessons am I learning. And here's what I learned. Be really, really honest with you. I learned that why I was a runner. If you've heard my story before, you've heard that, I was abused a lot as a child by multiple people. And I'm talking about all sorts of abuse. Mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. And so when you are broken at an early age, it's like there's a part of you that retards and regresses and never gets past that wound, right? And so that part of you doesn't mature like your body does, like your mind does. I'm talking about your spirit. Your mind matures. You could be 15 and be like, have you ever heard people like, oh, that's an old soul. Keith, you're an old soul. My granddaughters, they're old souls. Like, there are people who are like, you see these little kids and you're like, oh my gosh, where did they get that kind of wisdom? Where did they learn how to talk that way at 2? Right? I've got a great nephew, and Caden knows his nana. Like, he knows how to live in my house. He knows how to live in my house better than most people do. So I'm digressing, but I have a rule in my house. Like, I really don't, I think that the bathroom, so this is the feng shui in me, right? I think the bathroom is about release, right? Think about a toilet, about a bathtub, right? It's about release. And so I think that the bathroom door should always be closed, because it's a place that you release. It's a place that you flush down the drain, down the toilet, right? So one of the things that I am very, very big on is my toilet seat has to be down. Even if I go to your house to visit you, like, I will always put the toilet seat down, because I don't want what I released to come back up. And one of the things that I do from time to time, and I'm just sharing my story. One of the things that I do from time to time is when I eliminate out of my body, whether that's taking a bath or eliminate from my person, TMI, Zena, TMI. But I actually say a prayer. So I'm saying that I'm releasing all of the toxins and dysfunctions and negative imprints from my body. And then when I flush the toilet, it's intentional. When that stuff goes down the drain after I soaped and lathered up, that's intentional. I am cleansing myself, right? And so that's one of the things that I do. And, if ever you get a chance to work with me, I can show you how that practice alone will change and shift your life. So I do this when I flush the toilet, and I do that. So my dear sweet Caden, it's like he'll leave the bathroom door open or he'll leave the toilet seat up. And now he doesn't do it that much, but I don't even have to say anything to him. I can look at him and look at the bathroom, and he was like, okay, Nana. And he goes and he puts the lid down and he closed the door. And he's just the sweetest spirit. I mean, he's such an old soul. I have these precious rocks and crystals in my house, and he gravitates to them all the time. Giving a shout out to Caden. Anyway, but think about it. Like, really, where are you releasing and it's just splashing back at you, right? Life is always splashing back at us because we haven't learned the lesson. So, I mean, I share that about Caden because I was talking to a lady yesterday, and she has a 13-year-old, and she's like, my son never leaves the toilet seat down. That's one thing that I can say my two boys do, and they're men now, but I taught them that early on, that like that toilet seat has to be down. I don't care if you guys, there's more men in here than there's women, that toilet seat has to be down. And so that's part of an imprint that I've given to my children, right? So we go back to the imprints and we go back to this relationship. And so hey, if you've listened to the AskZena show, you know that I do this dance, right? And so the dance today is straight talk, and I will get to the end result because I really do have something very important to share, and I hope that you learn something from this. So when you're broken, like I was, and like I still am, I'm healing, a lot of scars. And in this relationship, it was always how they were making me feel, how they didn't validate, how I didn't feel appreciated, knew that I was loved unconditionally, knew that I was accepted physically and emotionally, even with all of my crazy, erratic behavior and the mouth that I have, because sometimes my mouth is really bad. So most people have been like, girl, if you got a man who loves you like 100 like that, you know what? That's the best thing. I've even had women tell me at my age, or maybe at my physical size or whatever, girl, you look, I don't know what you're settling for, but I'm not settling, because the universe said I can have it all, and I want it all. And so I want everything that has my name on it. And so that's what I am holding out for, and in great anticipation for, and knowing, right? Knowing what it is that I want. I want you guys to look up on YouTube. Look up Steve Harvey on TBN, and look up Faith Street. Watch that video. That is very empowering, because real quick about that, and then I'm going to get back to this, and then we'll close it down. But the video is basically about, he's walking through a warehouse in heaven, and he's talking to Peter or Paul, one of them, and he sees his name on this door, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, homie. What's my name on that door for? Like, I'm already up in heaven. And Peter or Paul says to him, those are all the things that God wanted to give you, but you weren't prepared, ready, and you never asked for them. And so he was like, well, what's in there? And he opens it up, the door, and from floor to ceiling, there are nothing but these lavish, luxurious gifts, beautifully wrapped, all with his name on, that God wanted to give him. But because he was not staying on Faith Street, the packages couldn't be delivered. They were returned to sender. So watch that on YouTube. I'll be dropping a whole bunch of nuggets up in here. But getting back to this relationship. So when I stood up and said, this is what I require, this is what I would desire in December, and this person came, and I came back in January from Alaska, and they were like, I'm in it till the wheels fall off. But yet ego kept letting me find my ego. I even though I was in a relationship, I'm removing him in a situation and the circumstances out of the equation right now. Like Evelyn said, he's a non-factor right now. And you're probably like, how is he a non-factor? You're in this relationship. Because a relationship is only there to magnify who you are. And that's exactly what it was doing. It was magnifying all the negativity. The mirrors were all around me, like a 70 house, back in the 70s where people had walls of mirrors all over the place. Every time he did something, I was looking at myself. Every time he did something, I was looking at something I did to someone else in a past relationship. And when I started looking at that shit, excuse my language, when I started looking at that and started doing my own forgiveness work, this person stepped up. Or really, did they show up the way that they've always been showing up? And I was too busy focusing on the blame shame game in why this person wasn't adding value and not adding to my personal bank account in terms of my spiritual growth and development. I was looking outside of myself. And everything that I saw, every time he was late, every time I got disappointed, every time something happened, every time he said something that I didn't like, I went in rather than looking at the reflection. And so when I started to do that, I started to be detached from any of the behaviors that I was so quick to recognize, because we attract like spirit, like mind. We attract these people to us because we are like that. Hear this. And I say this often. Hear this. Maybe this is the first time. I think this will be the first time I say this on the AskZena radio show. You can only recognize something about another person that has or is residing in you. Powerful, powerful. You can only recognize something within another human being that resides or has resonated or is a part of you. So an example of that is, if you recognize that you think that your partner cannot be trusted, you can recognize that because you know what that is, right? And how do you know what that is if you haven't experienced that? How do you know what that is if at some point, so you might say, well, I've never cheated on my partner. Did you cheat and steal a pencil from work? Did you cheat when you were a kid on your tests? Did you steal something? Did you lie to someone? You can't recognize something that you don't know anything about. And, look at the guy who just won the $724 million and he's 27 years old. He's not going to know what to do with that money because his spirit doesn't resonate with that level of money. Now, he can get there, but if his spirit doesn't recognize with that, he's going to be a rich poor man. And you guys have heard that where, people have lost weight, but they still have this fat complex because they haven't cleaned up their spirit. So you can lose the weight, you can get bariatrics or, staple stomach, whatever you're going to do. You can go to the gym, you can, do workout, whatever. But if you still have a fat spirit, you are going to be fighting every cookie, every candy bar, every thought of food. Food is going to be miserable for you. And that's why they have the yo-yo diet thing, whatever. But see, I'm getting back to this relationship. I could only recognize those things about him and those things that were irritating because they resonated with me. At some point in my life or currently, I could recognize that, and that's why they were irritating me. And that's why it was a reflection So when you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you need to change what you see. And I'm not talking about plastic surgery or anything else. You need to change what you're looking at. So for years, I would brush my teeth and I would never even look at myself. I never even took pictures or anything like that. And then I started looking at myself and I started appreciating my eyes and the sincerity in my eyes. And I started appreciating some of my features. Doesn't mean I'm conceited. Doesn't mean that I think I'm all that. It just means I appreciate what God created, right? So, yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. So I've been on this journey, and this person is an amazing person. We are friends, and how grateful I am. 3 things that he's taught me. 3 things that he's taught me. And he didn't even know that he taught me this. So through the relationship, again, being a runner, I have learned to stay committed. So the opposite of a runner is someone who learns to commit. So I've learned to commit to a relationship, commit to myself, commit to what it is that I desire and require. The other thing is I've learned to be silent because I'm a talker. I'm a chatter. And so I've learned to be silent and be an observer. And rather than use my mouth to create a situation, I will use my intentions to create that situation. And what I mean by that is when things got difficult and I felt like, again, I wanted to walk away because I was blaming, I prayed for this person to find happiness, to be perfect, whole, and complete. I didn't pray like some women will be like, Lord, keep us together. If he's not the one, send him away. God don't want to hear them kind of prayers. And anyway, he's got greater things to do. Like, really? He'll be like, well, learn your lesson and then he'll go away. Really? Because that's what it is. Because people are in our life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. So learn your lesson and he'll go away. So the greater can come in your way, right? So greater can be expanded and you can have a greater expansion of love and experiences and whatever. So I would actually go into prayer and I would pray for this person. And I kid you not, no matter what time I went into prayer for this person, within a matter of minutes, that person was texting me or calling me. Hey, you were on my mind. Just wanted to reach out. Hey, you were on my mind. And it was like, So taught me to be silent, taught me to commit, taught me that there's still some stuff that I need to work on within me. And rather than looking at the external and someone bringing happiness or a situation or a job or a new car, bringing happiness, waiting for that happiness, that I have the opportunity to create that happiness in the moment, in life, right here, right now. So, yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys because if you follow me, if you listen to me, I am very, very transparent, and I really share just all the lessons that I learned because I'm learning them and I feel that other people are in similar situations. So I hope you found value in my transparency today, in me sharing and in my vulnerability. And that was the other thing that I learned. I learned that it was okay not to be in control. I just learned that one just probably the last 2 weeks. I learned that it's okay not to be in control and to feel vulnerable. And I learned that I don't need to feel like water, I don't need to feel that I have to feel those that emptiness, right? So a lot of times when we feel emptiness, we go to our addictions, which are our comforts. Maybe it's food, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's sex, maybe it's marijuana, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's a long drive, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's a walk on the beach. So what I realized is that I didn't have to fill that emptiness with something, that I could sit in that experience and it too shall pass. And it was uncomfortable because it's not comfortable sitting in a void or pain or a situation. We want to feel that with something, whether it's television or food or drink or whatever, going out with our girlfriends. We just don't want to feel that. But the faster you can allow yourself to feel that and not feel that, the faster you can get to the internal joy, to tap into that joy. So, hey, thank you so very much for tuning in to the Ask Zena radio show on the Good News radio station. Today it is April 24th. Hello. Hey, we're joining all of those Tauruses are going to be coming out, right? I love those Taurus people. I really resonate with them. Virgos and Taurus get along really, really well. So, hey, thank you so very much for allowing me this place and space today. Keith, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable. Please, please, please check out the other podcasts on the Good News radio station. And I forgot. So, I am starting this web series very, very soon. We've actually are launching a couple of things, and we have a couple of videos already. And it's called A Vow, Authentic Voices of Women. And it's not just women who have had abuse or neglect or have been broken-spirited, broken-hearted, but it's stories of women and it's their resilience. It's how you went from this to being this. And I don't mean you always have to have a success story. Merely waking up in the morning from depression, recession, whatever you've gone through, is a blessing. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear your story. I want to understand your story, because I believe that we are in a time that it's calling us to be more empowering, to be more of a shoulder, to be more of a collective energy on this planet. Oh, so let me talk about Donald Trump real quick. The reason why, okay. If you're interested and you want to tell your story and you want to be on my podcast or you want to be in the web series, you can contact me at my email, coach.askzena@gmail.com. That's coach.askzena@gmail.com. Certainly reach out or catch me out on any of the social media platforms. But going back to Donald Trump, and then I'm going to end this. You're like, why are you going to end this on Donald Trump? This is powerful. You know why Donald Trump is successful? Not because there's all kind of okey doke, and I said that because I could say something else. Okey doke crazy people, Ku Klux Klan, whatever. You know why he's so successful? Why he's went through bankruptcy and why he's went through all of the different things and lost millions, gained millions, finagling millions, manipulating millions. You know why he's so successful? Because he knows. He comes from a place of knowing. Look at how he communicates. Look at how he tweets. See, when you're in a place of knowing and you're in a place of confidence, it's a thin line to arrogance and egotistical and narcissistic, right? It's a thin line. I mean, he's crossed that line, trust me. Yeah, he really has. But he always knows. He knows if he throws out $500 million for a new building in New York, he knows that his name alone, maybe it's going to be successful for a year. Maybe it'll be successful for 2 years. But either way, he's not going to lose, because either he's going to get tax credit or not file his taxes or he's going to make a lot of money. He knows. He comes from a place of knowing all the time. And I'm sure as we reflect on Nipsey, if someone could say, Nipsey knew he was always going to get back to his neighborhood. I know the people have said that, right? It's a place of knowing. So it's a place of stepping outside of yourself and just knowing. So even in my relationship, I know that I am requiring these things to be in my life, whether it's this person or another person, whether it's just me by myself. I know that I am requiring to live in a space of abundance and joy all the time. And so because of that, the universe will supply. Go out there, look at the Steve Harvey, TBN, Faith Street, and you will know, right? You can't be picking a card, getting a reading, looking for something, rolling the dice, hoping you'll win. That's why Vegas is there, because it's got a lot of people that say, you know what, I might just win this time. You know, I'm going to take $300. I might just win this time. I'm going to pull this lever and I might just win this time. Okay, machine, you know, whatever. They roll in the dice. If you come from a place of knowing, and I can teach you how to get to that place. If you come from a place of knowing, because you have it at the core of who you are, it is part of your DNA. If you come from a place of knowing, watch how the universe will start to deliver, speak to you, and start to listen. Start to listen to the messages. So like I was driving the other day and I was in front of a brand new BMW and I was like, it was the color that I wanted. And I was like, thank you for putting that in front of me, because that was my vision. That's my next car, but that's my vision, right? And I saw a house that I wanted in the Hollywood Hills. I live in a beautiful place by the ocean, but I saw a house that I wanted in the Hollywood Hills. And I was like, I never would have watched that channel. I don't even watch television. And I was like, thank you for expanding my vision. Oh, let me just say this last thing. You want to talk about dreams? So when I was a kid, my sister, my mom, they could validate this, and I'm going to jump off in a couple of seconds. I'm just going off. You know me, do a little cha-cha with AskZena, you know. But when I was a kid, I always would draw this house with this upstairs kitchen. People would say, well, why would you want an upstairs kitchen? So in my house, you walked into the foyer and there were the living room and a library, which was used for an office, and then a back, it had like a big sort of family room, and then there were bedrooms, right? And you could see from the front door, you could see all the way to the pool in the back, right? So upstairs was this beautiful grand staircase, and upstairs was the kitchen, a huge family room, and then the master bedroom. All the main bedrooms were downstairs. The master was upstairs, and that was the house. I used to draw this house all the time. My son and my daughter-in-law lived in a house with an upstairs kitchen, right? Drawing it closer and closer to me, right? Lived in Georgia, had an upstairs kitchen. Guess what? Bedrooms were downstairs. Guess what? Main living room was downstairs. Guess what was upstairs? The master bedroom, the kitchen, and the family room and the dining room, right? Okay. All right. So I wasn't crazy, universe, when I was drawing this when I was a kid with my Crayolas and all this other stuff. All right. Right across the street from me, if I stand out on my balcony from my bedroom, obviously it's right there. And literally there's a house. All the bedrooms are downstairs. The kitchen is upstairs with this big window, a balcony off the kitchen that looks over the ocean, and the master bedroom is upstairs. How close am I? How close am I to receiving that? And so the house that I saw in the Hollywood Hills, it wasn't that it had the kitchen upstairs, but there is a kitchen sort of ish on one of the floors in this house. But as you walk into this house, so I'm very much into feng shui. As you walk into this house, there's water going to the front door. From the front door, you open the front door and there's the pool, and there's a waterfall from the back gate flushing into the pool. So you see that from the front door. And so that's all about abundance. I was like, yeah, that's the house. Anyway, go out there and use a Crayola, use a crayon, use a marker, start to create the life that you require, that you desire, and just be in that knowing that it exists somewhere on this planet. Peace and blessings. Thank you for listening to the Ask Zena radio show. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you so very much. Hey, have a wonderful week. Peace and blessings to you all.